Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? Well, I'm exhausted. And I just woke up from a very short nap. I fell asleep like really quick and deeply, and then I woke up just as quick. But I wanted to jump on here, and I'm trying to vlog every day and get back into that. Not that I won't probably miss a few days here and there, but I wanted to get on here and just talk about my day, because I had a very full day today, and it was a good day, and I wanted to talk about that and just kind of hang out with you guys for a little bit. Since I am so tired, and I'm either going to, after this, make a little bit of a dinner, because Alex has already eaten, or I am going to lay down for a little bit longer, because I have to watch all my shows tonight. I have to watch the last episode of Under the Banner of Heaven. Today Caroline came and picked me up. That's mostly what I'm going to talk about. But anyway, I'm going to pull you guys in a little bit. Hi. Too close for comfort. Do you remember that TV show back in the day? But I have to, so Caroline had watched last night the last episode of Under the Banner of Heaven, and I didn't watch anything last night. So I have to watch that. I have to watch the most recent episode of The Staircase. And then Shining Girls came out today. And then, I don't know, 2 or 3 episodes of Legendary came out yesterday. I guess I should probably look and see. And then I am on the 5th episode of Night Sky. So I have all those shows to watch this week. It's not going to happen in one night. Oh, and probably the newest episode of the Teal Swan Show, too. Which is called The Deep End. So I have all these shows to watch. What is Under the Banner of Heaven on? Is it on Hulu? Hold on, let's look and see. Oh, why am I looking at Under the Banner of Heaven? HBO Max. What am I looking for? How did I just say? Oh, Legendary. That's on HBO Max. Okay. So let's look and see the new episodes of Legendary. If I go into it being saved on my thing, what is that? If I go into it being saved on my, it doesn't show me Legendary, how many episodes I have. So, okay, I have watched the first 6 episodes, and I have Fairy Tale, that's 7th, 8, Not Hot in the Shade, and 9, Slayground Playground. So those are, I have 3 episodes over there to watch too. Do you guys know Jamila Jamil? She was on The Good Place, and she's one of the judges of Legendary and has been from the beginning. I love her so much. So, yeah, those are the shows that I have to watch, and I want to watch some of those tonight. It's supposed to get real cool in Indianapolis tonight, so I don't know how long I'll be able to sit out down here. But anyway, I also have a coffee, so I'm trying to, like, get some energy a little bit here, you know, before I crash and burn for the night. So this is one of the coffees that I bought the other night from Fresh Time. I'm shaking it up, and it's called Stumptown Cold Brew Coffee with Oat Milk, original, plant-based. And this is what I was talking about, where vegan, gluten-free, low sugar, dairy-free, and it's 140 calories. And it has 0 total fat, 18 grams of carbs, 9 sugars, and 3 proteins. So I'm going to try this. I will give you my full review right now. It smells really good. I love oat milk in anything. It's like my new obsession. Oh, that's really good. It's really good. It almost kind of like some of these things with like oat milk in it kind of tastes a little bit like, I know this is going to sound really bizarre, but like a mocha, like chocolate, like if chocolate milk was like diet, it's almost kind of how it tastes a little bit, you know. I like that a lot. I like it a lot. So I could not sleep last night, and I didn't get a lot of sleep. I got like 4 hours of sleep, maybe 4.5. Somebody down there is playing like really loud music. Can you hear it? It's like 70s rock music, which kind of cracks me up. But anyway, So I had to get up because Caroline was picking me up at 11:45, which ended up being, she picked me up at noon. But before that, I wanted to like take a shower, and I wanted to take the dog out and all that kind of stuff. So I got up and got ready for Caroline to pick me up. I really pushed it sleeping in today, like after like 11 o'clock. And I just kept on waking up and waking up and waking up last night. I don't know what was wrong. I had a dream recently. I was telling Caroline about this today because we were talking about the house that I grew up in my neighborhood. And I just, out of the blue today, remembered this dream that I had probably a week ago. That I was in that house and there was this guy that was like living there, and he was like a doctor. And he was trying to like kidnap me. Did I talk about that on here? It really freaked me out. I like woke up in the middle of the night and I was like completely panicked about it. It was like the weirdest thing. So Caroline came and picked me up, and I had a bunch of dog stuff for her dogs, because and I had it in this like big shopping bag. The bark boxes, I'm not using that stuff in there. The treats, or the, what do you call it? The toys, and definitely not the toys, because the treats I sometimes give to the neighbors next door for their dog, or for their dog. But the toys, like, their dog won't play with plush toys, or if they do, like, pulls them apart in like 5 seconds fast. So they don't really like to use the plush toys, especially for smaller dogs. So I usually like give them to Tanya for the kennel, or like Melissa if she's doing like a dog drive for things like that, for like a dog rescue, her dog rescue thing that she does. So I had all these toys and treats, and I asked Caroline, I said, you know, will your dogs use them? And she said, yeah, I'd love that. So I took those out to her in the car, and then we went and did errands. I had like a list of errands that I wanted to run today. I need to look and see if I got mine. Did Peter complete his list of errands today? The answer is probably no. Caroline Friday is my list. Target, did that. Bought cleaning supplies, bought sparkling water, went to the pool. I did not go to the garden shop. I did look at the garden shop at Target, but so many of you recommended me to get the watering globes, which if I think I can probably get them on Amazon. I didn't even think about that. Which are like little round things that have like sticks in them, and you put the water in there, and then it like slowly over time waters your plant. So I think that's what I'm going to do with my ferns, so that I can get around the nest but still water the fern. I think that's what I'm going to do. I do have to tell you that I'm very sad about my nest and back. Like I went out there and looked again today, and I didn't see any of the baby birds. And I really think that like that hawk or whatever I saw them up there and got them. I don't know what else, because I haven't seen those baby birds up there since then. But hopefully not. They looked kind of big to me when they were sitting up there, so maybe they were at the age to fly away. But at the same, like, maybe I'm telling myself that because I don't want something bad to have happened to them. Because at the same time, I know she was still feeding them, because they were like so hungry like the day or two before that. So I just can't imagine that a bird would grow that much in a day or two. I don't know. They probably came to some horrific end. I was sitting out here and I was kind of like trying to see if I could like name the songs that they were listening to. I think it's Billy Joel now. But anyway, so then Caroline was really, really hungry. So we went to, she always wants Mexican. I was like, girl, I can't do Mexican today, I'm sorry. And I was like wanting really something brunchy. And so we went to, we try to do different places every week. So we did First Watch, which is like a national chain, so I'm sure you guys have them. But it's like very earthy kind of menu, and they have fruit, like really fun fruit juices and stuff like that. So I got this, Caroline got a Diet Coke, I got this fruit juice called the Purple Haze. Let me see if I can look it up and tell you guys what's in it. It's so good. Although it was very sweet today. The last time I got it, I've only had it once before. Purple Haze. First watch. Oh, it has a picture and everything. And everything. So this is what it looks like. If you can see it, pull it up. It's really cool. And then it has lemon, cane sugar, butterfly pea, flower tea, and a hint of lavender. And it's 230 calories. And then Caroline got this chicken chimichanga is how you say it. So however you say chimichanga, but put chicken in the chimi part of it, is what she got. And it was like this big kind of like breakfast burrito thing that also had chicken in it. And she got that with skillet potatoes. Their skillet potatoes at First Watch are like literally the best in the world. And then I got, it's called like California French toast or something. It was on this big brioche bread. And it came with like jelly that you put on the toast. And then syrup. It was okay. I'd kind of really be in the mood for French toast. The problem was I really wanted like an omelet or something. But all their omelets, they're like this big, these omelets, are like really heavy in like chorizo and other bacon and things like that. So the only omelets that they have, and like the eggs Benedict and all of their egg things that are like vegetarian, which they do have options for that, have like mushrooms, pico de gallo, and it's just not stuff that I love in an omelet. Like, I like a cheesy omelet. I like an omelet that you would get if you ate meat, but you just take the meat out of it. And that really wasn't an option with some of these, because it was really just like bacon and this, or, you know, chorizo and that. And so if you got it and you took the meat out, now I'm thinking, well, like, maybe I could have done that. But I think if I had taken that out, it just would have, like, it was like bacon, ham, it was like all heavily meated, you know, meated. And then I got some skillet potatoes on the side. And I only ate, like, each piece of French toast was like that big. And I only ate one piece, and then Caroline was like, can I help you with that? And I was like, you mean, she always says, do you want me to help you with that? I'm like, yes, Caroline, you can help me. And, she's doing real good on her Weight Watchers. So she was like, well, I'm going to treat myself. And then the whole rest of the day, she was like, I feel so bad that I ate that French toast. I was like, girl, why do you feel bad about it? Like, you know, you got to enjoy some things too. So, and then I also had coffee, and then they brought us water, like a big jug of water with like little glasses, you know. We had a good time. We just like laughed and told stories, and these people next to us, it was like this big family. It's like this dad and mom, and then I think it was like the mom's sister, and then there were like 3 kids. They were definitely younger than me, probably like by 10 years or so. But they had like a service dog, and it was like a golden doodle, and it was so adorable. I mean, and most service dogs are really well behaved, but this service dog was like sat at like attention, laid down at attention. I mean, it was really well behaved. And the birds are just singing and singing and singing. You know, as the birds are born, like around kind of, they're not all born around the same time, but like, you know, some of them are, you can really definitely hear them more at the same time. Caroline, when she came up to my patio, she was like, oh my God, I cannot believe how well your plants are doing. Your flowers look so good. I was like, thank you. They do look really good. So where did we go? Oh, then we went to Target. And we walked all over Target looking at stuff. We looked at the Pride stuff. And it was so funny because Caroline, we came up, like the Pride section was like right at the beginning. You know, they have all these t-shirts and stuff. What's that rapper guy's name? Lil Nas. They have like a t-shirt of him, like the Heaven and Hell video that he did, that he put out. They have like a t-shirt of him, and he's like, and they have like a t-shirt that says like Born This Way. And so it's like all of like pop cultural references to Pride, which I thought was interesting. And then they had like this thing that you put like lemonade or I don't know, sangria or something in, and it said something like queer or something. And Caroline was like, this is what she said that kind of, it was interesting. She said, can you imagine if they had this stuff like when you came out, like after high school? And I was like, or when we were in high school or whatever, I was like, no, I can't imagine at all. Like at all. Like at all. That it wouldn't have been completely like torn apart. And I mean, it would have been a huge issue, you know? And it's like, I think about that sometimes with, I was such a reader in high school that the gay representation that is in books these days is just phenomenal. And had I had those books, you know, I was talking about this, and I was either talking about it, was I talking about it on here, or was I talking about it in my drama video where I answered questions the other day? I can't remember. I think over there. But, you know, like, I would go, and I've told this story, I think, on here before, but, like, I just think I was looking for anything that would make me feel same, not different. And, so, you know, like movies or anything. And I can remember the movies that, like, my mom would talk about, like, And the Band Played On, like the one that came out in the 70s, where she would talk about that movie with Sabrina, I can't think of her name, Kate something, from Charlie's Angels. It was called Making Love. Do you remember that movie where her husband was having an affair with another man? And, you know, any of the books that came out that would be like in the sex and sexuality section at like B. Dalton or Walden Books. There was no like young adult LGBT book section. There just was none. There was not any really great LGBT literature because we had no own voices or representation within books at that point. You know, and I think about that, like, you know, there's been a discussion at times on BookTube for like, should, like, you know, heterosexual women be writing gay stories, or, you know, should trans stories be written by own voices? Own voices mean people that identify that way. Or is it okay for, you know, cisgendered people to be writing those stories? Like, I think those are important conversations to be had. But that being said, I think that we also have to acknowledge that those are important conversations, because look at how far we've come, that we are able to have those conversations, you know? And I just think that that's miraculous. I think that, you know, I have a couple friends of mine that in recovery, I have one friend of mine in general that has a trans child, and I've read a couple young adult trans books. One in particular is called that, If I Was Your Girl, by Meredith Rousseau. Fantastically written, you know. And I was telling him about it, and I said, they're such great books. Hold on just a second. And so, I've got all these things open, I'm closing them out. You know, like, and my friend was like, oh my God, thank you so much, you know, she'll love this, and, you know, and whatnot. And, I was telling another friend of mine, like, a year ago, his son came out, and is like, was real young when he came out. And he was telling me about it, and he was like, you know, is there anything that I can say as a dad? Like, what do you think I should be saying? And I said, you know, I think that you love your child and whatnot, and I think there's, you know, just to unconditionally love your child and be there and be supportive. And I said, but does he, like, read? And I go, he said no, he likes, like, you know, graphic novels and anime and stuff like that. And I said, you know, there's some great graphic novels out there. And at the time, and I told him, you know, I would give him the Heartstopper novels, which hadn't been made into a TV show yet. And now I think about it, you know, and it's like, we have TV shows, you know, and we have, like, I remember watching Love, Simon for the first time and really identifying with that friend group, like 30 years later, but like when I was in high school, having a friend group like that, you know, like that were very protective of me. Of course, they were all girls when I was in high school, but, you know, just even like the neighborhoods that we grew up in and stuff like that was very similar to Love Simon. Creekwood was very similar to Carmel, where I grew up. And, I don't know, like, had I had that movie in high school, and we were at that place when I was in high school, and I'm not saying that I don't think that we still have tons of long way to go, because we definitely do, you know, and we're definitely fighting an uphill battle all the way on nonsense that I think should not ever be something that we have to fight about, you know. It's just like, sometimes when I hear people get real upset about stuff, I'm just like, I don't know. I don't really understand the argument or why people get so upset about stuff. Because I was blessed enough to not feel like, oh, look at that dog, it's so cute. To not, I feel like I had, I don't know, it's interesting, like Caroline and I talk about this, you know, as far as like being bullied to a point, or questioning myself to the point of not wanting to be on this planet anymore, like I've never really had that thought ever in my life about anything, you know. There's been a couple times in my life, I would say, that I felt so depressed that I just couldn't really imagine like the next day, but, and I think that's genetic, like I really, really do. My dad, you know, is very similar to that. He's like never felt that way. And, you know, and Caroline and I have talked, and neither one of us have, I don't know what that's about. But like, I never went there in my head in high school. And I don't know why that is. You know, I have friends of mine that had no family support coming out. In fact, their family and friends at the time disowned them. And they're thriving today. And I have friends and family, or I have friends of mine that they have friends and family that just unbelievably and unconditionally supported and loved them even more than mine did at the time. So, I don't know, you know, do I think that people can persevere through everything? Sure. Do I think that my life at 14 to 19 would have been a hell of a lot easier if I had seen representation in movies and books other than one section at B. Dalton or Walden Books that was 10 books this big, and it was basically about, I can't even really remember what some of the books were. I think there was one that was like the Gay Kama Sutra, and then there was like another one that was like, I don't know, it was just stuff that like, I know that when I looked at it, I didn't think that was me. You know, because I think sex is a huge part of maybe how a lot of us identify sexually, but not all of us. And I definitely was a lot more innocent-minded when I was growing up. And so for me to look at a book like that and think that's who I am, when I was more, I had the butterflies in my stomach, crushes on guys. And I wasn't seeing that anywhere because there was no representation for that, if that makes sense. Oh, my husband's calling me. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm back. He had ran out to meet up with his friend Sarah for a second, just like not too long. And so he was telling me that he's on his way home. And I'm like, are you tired? Because you've been going all day long. He like worked all day today, and then like he met up with some people for like work stuff. Like it wasn't work stuff. They like met up for like drinks after work, and then he's just been like exhausted today. So he's like, yeah, he goes, I kind of feel like I'm running on fumes. But then he'll lay in bed and he'll look at TikToks for 10 hours or 2 hours, and I'm like, hey, how are you? And so I'm like, just go to sleep. Just turn the fan on and just go to sleep. No, I didn't mean to get so serious about that whole thing. I mean, like, I feel so happy that we are where we're at. I think there's so much complaining that can be done, you know, about what still needs to be done as far as the LGBTQIA plus community. Like, so much needs to be done. Let's just acknowledge that, right? And I'm just specifically talking about that in the realm of the world's problems. But we've also come a long way. You know, there's gay characters on TV shows. There's entire TV shows dedicated to the LGBT community, right? There's movies dedicated to it. There's loving relationships between people that identify all kinds of ways. You know, I mean, speaking of the Heartstopper series by Alice Oseman, get ready, okay? Because she deals with everything in her books. And I think that all her books will be made into movies. And she deals with people that identify as pansexual and asexual. And I mean, and that's you know, a whole topic that needs to be discussed. It's like, you know, and for people to be educated on, or for people to feel like, well, I've never felt this way, but this is how I identify, and now I know that, and I need to see representation. And that's why representation is important, you know. In fact, I was talking about this when you know, I don't know, I just think it's important for all of us to be able to find ourselves somewhere in the world of literature or movies or film, no matter who we are, you know, to be able to look at that and say, I see you. And not in a bad way. You know, not in, like, when I came out, God, you know, every movie in the world was about HIV. From Jeffrey, which was a good movie, but from Jeffrey to Philadelphia. Caroline and I were just talking about that, because her stepson lives in Philadelphia, so they had just gone there. To, I mean, that was a way depressing movie. To And the Band Played On, to Angels in America. I mean, every movie that came out was And the Band Played On. That was turned into a movie, wasn't it? Yeah, but like every movie that came out was so depressing. You know, it was so depressing. And really, if I got sober in 94, I think this would have been before I got sober. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert came out. And I can remember going to see that with my friend in the movie theater, because like we got free tickets to it. And so it was like the whole movie theater was like all like gay people. Because I think they were handing out movie theaters at like the bar or something. Because I remember sitting there and it was so weird being with all these people that we would hang out with in the bar, but we were at a movie theater. But that was like the first like real experience where I felt like I was seen outside of just being a person that people didn't understand, or a person that people feared because of a disease. And the movie's fun, but there's serious stuff in the movie as well. And the soundtrack from the Broadway show is fantastic, by the way, too. The version of I Will Survive that they do on that. I have it downloaded in my iTunes. And then we started to change, you know? And it's like, Ellen DeGeneres gets so much crap. And I'm not saying I think she's the greatest person in the world, because I don't. I think she treats people like she's a diva. I think she's very cruel to people and whatever, from what I've heard. But she and Neil Patrick Harris really were the first people that came out. Like, I mean, I can remember their coming out. I can remember Ellen on her show coming out, you know? And it was funny because I was watching the show the other day. So, y'all know I'm watching Night Sky with Sissy Spacek. So the other night, this is probably my favorite thing to watch on YouTube, is Oscar acceptance speeches. Every woman that's ever won an Academy Award I've seen, because I love watching women winning their Academy Award speeches. Some of the men I have too. But I was looking at Sissy Spacek's, and one of them was for Coal Miner's Daughter, I think, and the other one was for In the Bedroom. Or maybe she won a Golden Globe for one of them and Oscar for the other one. I can't remember. And then I was like watching this acceptance speech that she took for Loretta Lynn when Loretta Lynn won a country music award, a Lifetime Achievement Award. And then underneath there, because I was watching all this stuff, it got recommended to me like the 10 moments that Ellen DeGeneres like got into an argument with like either a guest or somebody in the audience. And one of them towards the end was Sean Hayes from Will and Grace. And it was kind of like this humorous banter back and forth that they had. And Sean Hayes, so she said something like, this was right before the reboot of Will and Grace. And she said something like, I don't even know what she said, but it was something about his show being canceled the first time, right? She made some joke, like, was it, how long until that show got canceled, right? And he goes, he said, we ran longer than you did with your sitcom or something like that. And she goes, yeah, but I had to come out for your sitcom to exist. And he goes, true. And it is true. Okay, like, I don't care what anybody says, but there had to be the first at some point. And Ellen DeGeneres was the first person that came out on national television, period, end of story. And got a lot of crap for it. Because I then went and I watched this, what do you call it? Clip. It's like a 3-minute clip. You can look it up. And it's just, if you type in Oprah Winfrey homosexuality, it'll come up. And it's Oprah Winfrey defending herself about going on the Ellen DeGeneres show. And these audience members are real upset about it and saying that she's not a Christian. You're not a Christian! That she's not a Christian because she's going on the Ellen DeGeneres show, and that if she was really a Christian, she would never do that, and on and on and on. And Oprah's like, wait a second. Like, my definition of Christianity is different than yours, and you have a right to believe what you want to believe. But just because I believe something differently, that I believe that my God loves anybody that is made any certain way, I don't care how they're made, okay, or who they love. That's what I believe, and that Ellen is the way that she is because she was made the way that her God made her. And, like, even that train of thought was totally foreign in 1990 when I came out, you know? And I think it's interesting, like, all this stuff with pride I see just, you know, going into Target and whatever, and for me, it's very double-edged, because I definitely feel like every company in the world wants to be like, as of June 1st, you know, like, Happy Pride! And let me do a should I do a thumbnail? But it's like, Happy Pride! And all this kind of stuff, right? And, I mean, that really started back in the day with, like, Absolute Vodka that would, like, host all these Pride Day events, you know. Absolute Citron would do like all this, and the bottles would come out like in Pride colors and stuff. Do you guys remember that? I mean, that was when I was still drinking, so I remember that, you know, or whatever. Zimas back in the day, and then we found out that Coors didn't like gay people. It's always this. It's always the people that support us, and we find out that they don't like us, you know. But I guess my attitude about it is a little bit like, we, as part of the LGBT community, realize, I think today, what a joke it is. I'm okay accepting 20% of that joke as long as we can have the representation that is out there today. That we can see, and I don't like the rainbow flag, I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't love rainbows, they're not my favorite thing, okay? Like, I remember having this conversation with my mom back in the day. She was like, well, what if I just like pink triangles or like rainbows, and I want to like get a rainbow flag just because I like rainbows? I'm like, well, get a rainbow flag then. She's like, well, everybody's gonna think I'm a lesbian. And I go, why do you care? She's like, yes, I don't, but I don't know that I want everybody in my neighborhood thinking that I'm a lesbian if I like have a rainbow flag. I'm like, why do you care, Mom? And then she ended up becoming such an ally anyway, you know. It was so funny. And I think for my mom it really took, you know, my mom was always such a liberal anyway, and had lots of gay friends, and I think it's easy to say that. But when Matthew Shepard was killed, and my mom sat by the phone and literally called the hospital, we had never seen anything like that before, you know. I remember my mom saying something to me like, that could be you. And I remember MTV at the time, after Matthew Shepard died that weekend, like at the bottom of the screen the entire weekend, they just ran this thing constantly that was like people that had died of hate crimes that year, you know? And I think it's really important that we continue to discuss those things, you know? And so some company want to throw a pride flag on I don't care what is going to bring us some exposure and start a conversation as to why, you know, trans women of color are not, their deaths are going not reported and not mentioned and not brought any attention to or investigated in our country by the hundreds and thousands a year, like not hundreds of thousands, but you know, I mean a huge number. I'm willing to allow us to be used a little bit by that, because I think those are things we need to be discussing. Those things we need to be having that talk, and I don't know why that conversation is so uncomfortable for so many people, because in reality we're talking about humanity and we're talking about saving lives. Why are we so afraid to have that conversation? And my husband is pulling in right now. I can hear him. Hello? So I don't know why we're so afraid to have that conversation. It needs to be had, you know? And I know people want to get all up in arms about listen. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good, it's beautiful evening, isn't it?
Say again?
Beautiful evening, isn't it?
I'm sorry.
Beautiful evening, isn't it?
It really is.
It's so nice. You know, I am by no means, you know, into my 80s or 90s, but it doesn't take a few elections, a few, you know, times around the sun to realize that I think within any group of people you're going to be used at some time, and played, and I think I learned that a long time ago. And I think I learned that there is a lot that goes with that. And it's, you know, be aware of that. And also, how can we use that to grow? And I'm really only speaking from the point of view of being a gay man. A gay white man. Because I do think that that's important to acknowledge that. Because I think that LGBT people of color, it's vastly different and more difficult for them. I think to, you know, in discussing pride, it's interesting to me, like when people say like, oh, are you a proud gay man? I am, you know, and they're like, well, why do we need a pride day? We should have a straight day. Well, okay, here's my question to you then. Did you ever feel ashamed of yourself because you were straight or heterosexual? Did you ever feel like you couldn't tell somebody? Did you ever feel like you were dirty? Or that you were just a sexual being because of that? Did you ever watch television, news, read books, read cartoons, watch movies with your friends and feel like you weren't represented, or that you didn't see yourself, or that you didn't exist? That you didn't exist. That who you were as a person, everything about it was shameful and horrible. Now, I didn't have this in my life except for the people that bullied me. But so many of my friends and people that I know were thrown out and discounted as human beings and said, who you are is not valid, you know? Who you love, the way you think, the way you live is not valid. And I think, like, that's why we have pride, because it takes so many people to work through that to get to the other side. If you had asked me at the time that I got sober, which my counselor did ask me, you know, about me drinking and using drugs because I was gay, I was like, no, I'm totally fine with being gay. I was not totally fine with being gay. I had grown up for 12 years in, you know, the systemic society of school where bullying was accepted because it was called teasing. That if you were just a little bit more masculine, you wouldn't get. And are you the one that are, edging them on to do this to you? Was always what I got. So I came out, and then I was already drinking, and I had already subdued my thoughts and just thought, well, I'll at some point before I came out, like let's say 14, 15, 16, I thought to myself, I'll just push my feelings and emotions down of loving somebody, and I will just marry a woman. And I think consciously probably it was like, and if I have sex with men, I have sex with men, and I'll just push it down. But I wasn't a real sexual person in high school. And so, I really didn't have a lot of those, sexual thoughts or whatever, so I don't know that I acknowledged it, but if I did, I would have to think that that was probably my thinking. Which is why I understand, and I do not shame, gay men and lesbians who got married and raised families and didn't come out till much later in life, because I think that could have been a very real reality for me. Had my family not been accepting. I think at that point, I just was like, I cannot do this anymore. I can't continue to live this lie. And that was also combined with the fact that my friend who worked at the mall at Lane, she worked at Lane Bryant at the time, and there was a guy that worked at a kiosk in the mall, like a makeup kiosk, and they became friends, and he was gay. And I remember writing in my journal, I met my first gay guy tonight or whatever, and we became friends. He's actually who I got my fake ID from. But I think had I not met him at 17 and a half, when I was in my last semester of being a senior in high school, and I started thinking, I'm not going to be here around these people anymore, and there's a lot of the world, that I want to see and things like that. I just don't think that I would have thought that that was realistic for me. To ever go out and do my own thing. I also think I realized that my parents just didn't really care, and whatever I was, they were okay with, which is why I think it's so important for parents to be loving and unconditionally loving and kind to their kids, so that they can tell them whatever they need to tell them, whatever that truth is for them, But I think one of the things that was so hard for me was I don't really remember what age I was when I could put together, I have a crush on this guy. And I remember with coaches and stuff like that, like tennis coaches. And when I was younger, it was always older guys and stuff like that. But classmates, I would say was probably, I don't really honestly remember. I remember this one guy that sat in front of me, and I was at the time, I was probably in 6th grade, and I had a massive crush on him. And, but that's the only, I was how much of the story do you want to tell? But that's the only guy that I remember, until high school. And then there would always be guys in high school that I had crushes on, but I wouldn't tell anybody about it. I would say to my one friend that she and I were really, really close, I would say, I wonder about him. I wonder what his room looks like, or which I think back on that, at a 16-year-old guy telling his girlfriend that, that has to be, and she was I always knew, But I have to think, that was probably a little bizarre that this guy wonders about, what he does late at night, what TV shows he watches and stuff, That's what I based my whole book on that I wrote, was about the guy Rusty, who I actually did go to high school with Rusty, and he was my crush. And he only lived and went to our school for about 6 months or something like that. And I really only had a few interchanges with him. I think it was only the one time that he gave me the piece of gum. It's in my book. And I dedicated my book to him as well, part of it. But when I started drinking, socially drinking, before that it was in my bedroom late at night watching movies and stuff. But when I started drinking, with my friends or going out into social situations, and especially I think when I started drinking and doing drugs and going out to gay bars, which happened 18, so this month, 31 years ago, 31 years ago? 32 years ago, because I came out on my birthday of, which is interesting because that's literally the day after the gay rights movement started in 1969. It's I think the Stonewall riots are June 28th, And my birthday is June 29th. Hold on a second, let's look it up. Because forever, Pride would follow my birthday. Yeah, the Stonewall riots, also known as the Stonewall Uprising, Stonewall Rebellion, or simply Stonewall, were a series of spontaneous demonstrations by members of the gay community in response to a police raid that began in the early morning hours of June 28th, 1969, at the Stonewall Inn in the Greenwich Village neighborhood. So my day, June 29th, like I always like associated with Pride back in the day. So when I came out and I started going to gay bars and I was drinking, and I mean, I was so trashed all the time, but I think it allowed me to just like be who I want, you know, be who I wanted to be and dance and take off my shirt if I did that, which I rarely ever did that. But if I did, it was because I was wasted, you know, all that kind of stuff, or like hit on guys or just say whatever I wanted to guys that I had never been able to say before that I thought were cute and whatever. And I'm like, I mean, it took me a long time. And I think this is the reason why I never admitted it, was that those people that had bullied me in high school and junior high and elementary school had really taken my story from me. You know, like I wasn't able to come out on my own because for so many years they had said that I was gay. And so for me to come out, it was like, well, they were right all along, see? You know? They were right all along. And so I didn't get to like own my story anymore. And I think that was like so hard for me. And so I think it took me a really long time. I was probably sober 10 years before I was willing to admit that, okay, maybe there is some truth to the fact that your drinking and your drugging had a lot to do with you being so ashamed of being gay. And I think it also took me hearing a lot of other people talking about like how much they hated themselves for being gay. You know, friends of mine would say, I grew up really, really religious. And, you know, they would say, you know, and then a lot of these people also would go right into the military. I had so many friends of mine that were in the military. And this was at the time of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, you know, or before that. And so that further validated this idea of this, or this invalidation of who they were as people. But so many of my friends were raised really religious, and so they were like, you know, God doesn't love gay people, and so, which I do not believe personally, obviously. And so they would say, well, if God made me, then I must just be trash, or I can't be gay because God doesn't make people gay that he loves, so God doesn't love me. Like really mess. It was like mostly my Catholic friends. It like really messed with their head a lot. And I didn't really ever play into that because I didn't ever have any kind of like internalization of spirituality until I got sober, and much later than that actually. So for me, I was always kind of like, well, if there is a God, I think God loves me no matter what. I just can't imagine a God that would make all of this, that would then put us on this planet to just be in complete misery our whole lives and know that we're going to hell when we die because of who we love. Like, that makes no sense to me. Like, that is just absolutely not rational thinking, okay? Any more than your skirt should be a certain length and so should your hair, okay? Like, that doesn't make any rational thinking to me. I don't think God cares about the length of your skirt. I really do, you know? Do I think that my God cares about who I love? I think he cares about, is that person okay for me? Is that person supportive and loving, kind, and compassionate to me? I think, you know, yes, God cares about who I love, but not in the way that we think. Not at all, you know? Isn't it interesting as a society how we put our own perceptions of the world on our definition of a higher power and God? I mean, even myself, coming up with my own concept of a higher power, right? That a lot of people will be like, well, I don't believe it. That's fine, you know? But at least I acknowledge, you know, that what I believe is probably some kind of made up version of a higher power. But like, I don't know how you can sit back and look at things and not be like, we as a society, we make all this stuff up like in our head, some of it, not all of it, you know, and I hope not all of it, but it doesn't make sense. Like, it just, a lot of it doesn't make sense. It was like when I was watching the Oprah clip, and the woman that's questioning Oprah, she gets like really upset. And she's like, but I read the Bible, and the Bible says that homosexuality is wrong. And she's like getting real upset, and she's like, and you can't, as a Christian, come up here on this TV show and say you're going to go on the Ellen show and that you're okay with her being gay if you are a Christian. I mean, and she's really upset. And I wanted to stop the TV show. I don't know, the girl's it's probably been 30 years since the show, right? And say to the girl, you're not upset with the fact that Oprah is sitting on this TV show saying that she doesn't believe that there's anything wrong with homosexuality. You're upset that your perception of Oprah is different than reality. That's what you're upset with, is that you love this woman so much that now that she's going against your core belief system, you can't love her the way that you loved her anymore. And that's a problem in your reality. Like, that's the reality, right? So, yeah. I think there's a lot to talk about with Pride Month, and I think it's important. And, I mean, will you ever see me, you know, all, like, dressed up and, like, last year at the other Target that I went to, they had, like, a rainbow, like, sport coat and suspenders and short. I'm like, okay. No, but some people love it. Let them, like, be you, be too much. You know, I love that people fly rainbow flags and all that. I'm like, you know, would I have one on my front porch? Probably not. But, you know, when I drive by and I see people with it, I'm like, amen for some support, thank you. Or maybe that's a gay couple that lives, or a family. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe it's two dads and their kids, or two moms with their kids, or whatever, you know? Like, I love all of that today. And I love that people, the majority of the time, feel safe enough that they can express themselves like that. Because the majority of my life, I did not, what held me back from expressing my pride was fear. And the more that we talk about it, the more that we see it on TV shows and in advertisements and, you know, whatever, I think the more that fear goes away, because it's out there more. And, you know, hey, listen, we need to have so many conversations about so many important things that are going on in the world, you know. And if people could sit down and have educated, calm conversations where I say, hey, like, I don't necessarily see it the same way you do, or you don't see it the way that I do, but, like, can you explain to me how you feel? Can you explain? And let me explain in return. But we live in a world where on social media, it's, if you don't believe my opinion, unfriend me. And it's not healthy, and it's not helping anybody, and I don't understand it. I don't. And I don't engage in it. I won't engage in that, because I don't believe most people, I'm just going to say this, okay? I mean, there's some, like, I have some opinions that I read out there. I'm like, where did you come up with this, right? But most of them that I read, I think, comes from a place of fear or their own experience. If you can explain that to me and I can share my experience with you, we might be able to convince each other to look at the world in a different way. But when we hold up our hands and say, shut up, unfollow me, or I'm going to block you immediately, and it usually happens both ways, and we're not willing to have this conversation anymore, it's going to stop. Hold on a second. Okay. Then we're at a point where, well, first of all, some of the statements that I see put out by famous people or whatever realm you're in, if you're in entertainment or if you're in politics or whatever, just straight up ignorant, okay? And hurtful to people, and hurtful, right? So I understand people having adverse reactions to that and responding to that, especially in a public forum like Twitter or Facebook or whatever. I get all that, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when friends of yours throw up something and they are like, I mean, this doesn't even really happen to me because I don't really involve myself with people that have, like, those kind of thought patterns. Like, I just don't have people like that in my life. But I have, at times, where people will say, like, Why do we have a Pride Month? Like, why can't we have a straight month? I'm gonna have a straight parade. Okay, have it. Organize it. Hire the drag queens for it. You know, do everything. Okay, hire your entertainment. You know, do everything that you need to do for your straight parade and straight day. And I'll come and I'll be an ally for it. Okay, and thank you very much. You know, set up the beer tents, do your whole 9 yards, right? But it's just like, why? You're just saying that to upset people. Because if you really feel that firmly about it, like, why does it bother you so much that other people are living their life happy? I don't get it. Like, I really don't understand that. And I've always said that. You know, it's like at the time of marriage equality going around, when you would see all of these people, and they would like literally, they would say, I mean, it was scary. They would say that they had made it their life's mission to stop gay couples from getting married. And I would be like, so on your deathbed, okay, of all of your experiences and all your moments that you've had in the world, the one thing that you're going to look back on and be the most proud of is the fact that you kept two people that loved each other apart. That's the thing that you're the proudest of, right? Maybe this would be a better thumbnail. Hold on. But no, seriously, like, that's the thing that you're the most proud of. What? It doesn't make any sense to me. None whatsoever. I honestly planned to just jump on here for like a little half an hour. I didn't plan to give a dissertation tonight. Oh my God. But this was nice. It was fun. And now I'm going to go inside and I'm going to hang out with my husband if he's not asleep yet. And feed Boo Radley a little bit more of his food because he wasn't wanting to eat earlier. And creaky Halloween door. Do you remember that? Oh my God. And then I'm going to watch my shows. So, if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And I hope that you're having a magically amazing Friday. If you're watching this Friday, if you're watching this on Saturday, I hope that you're having a magically amazing Saturday, because I know some of you saved it for the morning. And 3 most important things. You can start your day over whenever you want. Practice random acts of kindness. And reach out to somebody. Most importantly, reach out to somebody and let them know how much they mean to you. And I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya. Oh, and for those that need to hear it, and those that want to hear it, and yes, even those that just happen to stick around. One more, I love you. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Happy birthday, Lena.